Okay. Yeah, good evening, everybody. Please, can you please try to unmute yourself and let me confirm if you can clearly hear me.
Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, we can hear you.
Mr. Olusegun Akindele.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear
Mr.
you.
Oroleke, Mr. Faith Oyedele.
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Very good. So you can please go ahead and mute your speakers. Thank you very much. So my name is Engineer Akinla Emmanuel, and I'll be taking us on asset management today. So, but before we start, we have some one or two things to go through. I'm going to tell you much about myself. Then the title of today's class is asset management. I'm going to give you a very brief summary about my profile. Then we have some little housekeeping rule. After that, we go to the class modules. From the class module, we go to the class today's training properly. Then after that, we do a recap of what we have learned. Then you have an assessment at the end of the training today, which you are to attend to, and Barakat will provide a portal through which you're going to submit the assignment. So thank you, everybody. Then I'm still going to give us the opportunity for us to introduce ourselves one by one. But before that, let me be the one that will be the first to introduce myself. So you have the title of today's training is facility asset management. Then there's going to be a facilitator profile. I'll share a screen about myself. Then next will be the housekeeping ground rules. Then the outline and the course content of today's training. Summary, like a recap of what you have learned today. Then we go to assessment. We are not going to run the assessment together. It's more or less like an assignment you have to do and submit via a portal that Baraka provided. Please kindly confirm if you can share my, if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
I can see your
thank
screen.
you very much.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, we can move to ourselves now. As I earlier mentioned, my name is Engineer Akinla Emmanuel, and I'm the principal partner and technical director for Prophet Services Limited. I facilitate both on asset management for Max-Migold, asset management, facility condition assessment, and plumbing. For all these course details will be seeing each other. Then let me say I have over 17 years experience in both facility management and the maintenance and mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. I work with both local and international brands before I assumed the post of principal partner and technical director for Prophet Services Limited. I work with USCN. I'm so sure some of you will be familiar with USCN, and I work also with Deviani International Nigeria Limited, that is KFC. So I am an HND and PhD degree holder, a certified current and a certified member of Society for Maintenance and Reliability Professional, Association of Maintenance Professional, World Safety Organization, Institute of Electrical Technology, and Institute of Electrical Electronics Engineering. So I have professional experience in facility management, water engineering, equipment repair maintenance, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, and general consultancy. So any other thing you need to know about me, kindly consult Barakat. So our housekeeping rule for today, every participant will need to introduce himself briefly. All I needed is your name, your background, either electrical, mechanical, civil, business admin, accounting. So that at least in the course of the training, I will know how I can be moving along all the personal careers. So at least everybody will be in the loop. Then Safety is our top priority. So wherever you find yourself, please ensure you are good and you are safe. Then every learner to consider their training area and eliminate any possible interruption. So please try as much as possible to avoid distraction wherever you are. And try as much as possible to put your mobile gadget on silent during this training period. No chorus question. If you have any question to ask, please kindly raise your hand. We'll grant you the permission to unmute your speaker. You ask your question, we'll provide answer to your question. And if you still have another further question, you can still continue to raise your hand. And once you are done with your question, you need to click on the down hand caption on your system. Then to ask questions signified by raise your hand, which we have already said. Break time will be communicated by the facilitator, which is me, during the training. I think we're going to have like, is it 10? Okay, 5 minutes break. We run through the first 1 hour. After the first 1 hour, then we have a 5-minute break. Then we run through another second 1 hour. So we're starting by 5 and we're expected to complete everything by 7 o'clock, excluding the assessment. So after, let me come back and let me ask everybody to start introducing yourself. Please signify by raising up your hand. I'll call you so that to avoid chorus discussion. So you signify by raising up your hand. We'll call you, then you can ask your question. You can introduce yourself, tell us your background and where you are currently working. So I have Mr. Daniel Abdul Samad. Please go ahead. Unmute your speaker.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, the facilitator. My name is Daniel Abdul Samad. My background, I'm a graduate of University of Ibadan from the Faculty of Education, Department of Biology. So I am currently working Baker Hughes here in VI as a security operative, and I actually chose facility management as a very good course, and I actually want to know more about facility management. So out of my curiosity, I met Max-Migold. Thank you.
You're most welcome, Mr. Daniel. Yeah, I'll call on Mrs. Mr. Adiola Antonio B. Am I right? Mr. Adiola. Okay, Mr. Temitope Akemi, kindly go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening.
Good evening, Temitope. Go ahead, please.
Okay. As you already know, my name is Temitope Akinyemi. Yes. I work with Tropical General Investments. Educational background, I have BSc in business management. So facility management career is, I wouldn't say it's by accident, but when I become the facility manager of my company now, I find it interesting and it's something I want to really do as a career. Though my education background does not, I have nothing to do with engineering, but I have skills for engineering. So it's interesting and I really want to learn more about it. That's why I'm in Max-Migold. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Temitope. I want us to make this because we have like almost about 38 participants that need to like introduce themselves. So what we do is that let's just make it as brief as possible. Your name, your background. That's very simple. So that at least it can go across every participant on this in this training, please. Mr. Michael Benro.
Yeah, my name is Michael Benro Dada. I'm an electrical technician, currently a supervisor at Almog Engineering.
Thank you, Michael. Nduka Alex.
Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Nduka Alexis. I am electrically inclined in the sense that I studied electronics engineering in the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. And currently I'm working with SPDC as a facility manager under the street lighting, the high voltage section, and the earthing section. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Jokotai.
Hello, good evening, all.
Good evening.
My name is Builder Jukuchi Gabriel. I study build. Jakure, Puta. I'm a registered builder. I'm a corporate member of Nigerian Institute of Building. I'm a corporate member of Nigerian Institute of Builders in Facility Management. I'm presently working with the GTA Allied Construction and Engineering Limited.
Okay, Jokotai, thank you very much. Patrick, can you come on, Patrick, please?
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Patrick.
My name is Patrick Agabogia, currently with OVH and Energy Marketing, Maintenance Department. I'm a maintenance officer, and I studied industrial maintenance engineering at Yabatek. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick. And I have another Patrick, Patrick Akiode. Can I have Mr. Oroleke? Oroleke, okay. Patrick Akiode, please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Patrick
Patrick.
Akiode. I work with B3 Managers as a facility manager here in Lekki.
Okay.
I studied business administration and management.
Thank you, Patrick. Oroleke. Okay, Mr. Adiola, can you come on? Please unmute your speaker. We can barely hear you, Mr. Adiola.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, I can hear you clearly now. Good evening.
Okay, good evening. My name is Adiola Antonio B. I have a background in architecture, and I work for Z Spaces Limited. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Tilo, Teo, right? Go ahead, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Barikuma Leketeo. I have a background of electrical electronics engineering, and I work at Hyprep as a maintenance officer.
Thank you very much. And Ali?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Ali. Ali, I guess there is a network issue at your end. So let me use that opportunity to call on Oladimiji.
Can you hear me? Good evening, everybody.
I can hear you clearly, Oladimiji.
Okay, my name is Oladimiji Dayo. I am currently with Brawl Properties. Background is statistics. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Sylvia. Please kindly drop your hand if you have introduced yourself.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Yeah, Madam Sylvia, good evening.
Yes, my name is Sylvia, and my background is education, and I currently work in a school. I also manage facilities, and that's why I'm here to learn more.
Okay. Mr. Victor Asogwa.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Victor Asogwa. My background is economics, MSc Peace and Conflict Resolution, and I'm the CEO Penfield Synergy World Limited, a real estate company in Abuja.
Okay, thank you. Chuchu. Then while we're waiting for Mwefu Chuchu, Samuel Oluwaseun, can you please go ahead?
Okay, good evening, everyone. I am Chuchu Wenofu, as you already know. I'm a facility manager from TFML, Total Facility Management in Abuja.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. Samuel Oluwaseun John.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Samuel Oluwaseun John. I currently work as a maintenance personnel in Golden Tulip Hotel, Lekki. Thank you.
Okay. Raymond.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Raymond Onyachu. I work as facility personnel in Niger Delta Group of Company. My background is business administration, and also had I'm a chartered administrator and also a member of Risky Institute of Management.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. I think I'll just pick 2 more people, but in the course of the training, I'll be picking other people one by one so that at least we can get to know each other very well. So I'll pick just Mr. Kingsley Anyawu and Sokunbi Adeolu for the last time, please, so that we can quickly start our training for today.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kingsley Anyawu. Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Kingsley Anyawu. I have a background in electrical engineering. I currently work with Bro Property as a senior technician. Thanks.
So, Mr. Sokunbi Adeolu, right?
Yes. Good evening, everyone.
Please go ahead, introduce yourself, then we'll move into today's training. So, along the line, I'll be picking us one by one. Then we can all drop our hands so that at least I will be the one to pick whoever is going to introduce his or herself during the course of the training. And I might use that one to ask 1 or 2 questions from that person. So, Sokunbi, please kindly go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shokumbi Adilu Michael. I have background in estate management and valuation. I work with Dia Fatima & Co. as property manager.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we're going to today's training. Like I earlier said, that today we shall be dealing with asset management as part of facility management. And at the end of today's training, everybody is expected to understand what we mean by economic objective with IRR, asset economic objective with higher resale value, then the critical value placed on an asset and inventory. Understand how to improve efficiency, performance, and utilization of an asset. You will also understand facilitating of an asset data collection, how to collect data in terms of asset management. Then, what is asset commissioning? What is asset maintenance, and what is asset decommissioning? And you will learn how to enhance the asset life cycle. Also, you will be able to understand how to improve operational performance and efficiency. Then, how you can synchronize your asset register with the current software, which is computerized maintenance management system or computer-aided facility management software. How you can integrate from what you are currently using to all those software, if and only if your company has that software or you have the capacity of acquiring that software. Now, our course content is going to definitely be on the area of, we're going to do an introduction on asset management. We're going to discuss extensively on asset register. And from there, we'll go into asset storage and retrieval method. How do you store your assets? How do you retrieve them when you needed them? Then we're going to discuss life cycle and costing procedure of an asset, which will include what do you mean by salvage value of an asset, what is the economic value of an asset, then asset periodic audit and review. These are all the 5 areas we shall be discussing in the course of this training. So the first thing is to introduce ourselves to asset management. So what is an asset? Can somebody who has who has not introduced herself, just pick it up from there, just for 2 minutes. Tell us briefly what you understand by an asset. Anybody among those people have not introduced?
Everyone.
Yeah, good evening, Faith. Go ahead.
Well, no, this is Faith wasn't the one responding, but so do you? I want to yield to the person, please.
You want to do what? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so can Faith go ahead, or the person that responded earlier?
I have Faith Oyedele raising hand. So let's give him that opportunity. Faith Oyedele, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Well, asset is something you own, something that belongs to you, something of value. So and what is valuable to me may not be valuable to any other person, right? So that thing that is of value, it's something that I call asset. My pen could be my asset. My laptop is my asset. My furniture at home and things like that. So that's what I would say, generally speaking, without even looking at your notes.
You say what?
I say without looking at your notes. You give us the assessment note that they gave to us. So okay. I have a copy here. So
thank you very much. So you've spoken well.
Yes,
somebody wanted to say something the other time. Please go ahead, Mr.
Yes, this is yes. I just want to add to what Mr. Faith said. I believe asset is anything that is owned and that has the capacity to generate inward cash flow.
Okay, thank you very much. We've all described it properly. So asset is something that is valuable to an organization. It is something that an organization owns that you can benefit from and you can use, and you can also in turn use it to generate income back into the company. So anything that can retain, I can hear background noise. Can that person help us to mount his speaker? Is our speaker, please? So anything that can retain value beyond a span of 1 year is called an asset. An asset is anything that can retain value beyond a span of 1 year and is a result of economic value owned with the expectation that it will produce future benefits. And your asset could be fixed or current. And assets are either fixed or current assets. Current means that the asset will be used within 1 year. And what are those current assets? Current assets can be cash or cash equivalent, or which can be converted into cash. Anything that can be converted into cash. Example include your cash, your inventory, your account receivable, or your prepaid expenses. These are all classified under current assets. Your account receivable are more or less like sales you have made as a company that you are yet to recoup the money back into the company, but it's formed part of your balance sheet at the end of the month. You have already sold those items out, but you are yet to recoup back the money back into the company. These are all classified under current assets. And fixed assets are those that are expected to keep providing benefit for more than 1 year. And that is why they are classified under just like Mr. Faye said the other time, that equipment, your building, your real estate, your computer, and fixed asset is a property with a useful life, which is greater than one reporting accounting calendar year. So your accounting calendar year is always 112 months. So your fixed asset has a value and it retains value beyond your calendar year. And this includes your building, your computer equipment, your furniture and features, your machinery, your vehicles. These are all your assets, your fixed assets. Then, what do we understand by asset management? Asset management is a process of doing what? One, a process is it is a coordinated activity of an organization to realize value from an asset. Why do we say it is a coordinated activity? It is not an activity being carried out by facility managers alone. It's at times, mostly it includes the functioning or the responsibility of a facility manager, a finance manager or a finance director, an human resources manager, or an asset manager if your company has a dedicated portfolio for an asset manager, because so most companies always put the portfolio of an asset manager under a finance manager. But if your company has a portfolio for an asset manager, that means it is multidisciplinary activity that must include the facility manager, the finance manager, the human resources manager, and possibly the managing director. So it's not a unilateral activity that only a facility manager can carry out. So when you are talking about managing or maintaining an asset, it is a multidisciplinary activity, not only performed by one person alone. So that's why we said it's a coordinated activity of an organization to realize value from an asset. Let me take your water treatment plant in your facility as an example. The water treatment plant has a planning stage. And when it is being approved that it required to be settled, the finance manager provided the check or the money. And once it's being commissioned, it is now the responsibility of the asset manager to bring that as part of the company asset, which will be depreciated over a certain period of time. And it is now the jurisdiction or the responsibility of a facility manager to ensure that he maintains a day-to-day operation and maintenance activities of that facility until that facility becomes obsolete or it has gotten to a point where the entire depreciation value of that facility becomes zero. And that is the reason why in accounting terms, you said the book value is zero. And at times, such kind of facility can be disposed of or it can be resold if it is properly maintained. So it is also a systematic process of deploying in the sense that you could have you could have an estate in Abuja, you have an estate in Lagos State. Then you could deploy a generator which is of higher capacity in Lagos State to Abuja that require that, and bring a lesser capacity which is in Abuja back to Lagos, which require a lesser capacity generator. It's also a systematic process of operating an asset, maintaining an asset. Also, you determine either to upgrade or to dispose of an asset at what? A cost-effective what? Monetary aspect. That is what asset management entails. We're still going to dwell further on that. What are the type of asset management that we have? We have financial asset management, we have infrastructure asset management, we have enterprise asset management, we have physical plant asset management, we have real estate asset management, and we have human resources asset management. And I always tell facility managers that every employee is an asset to the organization wherever he or she is working. Because there is something we call cost to the company, which is CTC. Your take-home salary could be 10,000 naira, but the actual amount of money you are costing the company could be as high as 15,000 naira because your tax come out of it, your NSITF, your medical allowance, and all those stuff. These are costs to the company. And when you're talking about financial asset management is asset management which can either be active or it can be passive. And it's referred to investment management or fund management on behalf of investors. And infrastructural asset management are asset management which is integrated. It is a multidisciplinary set of strategy. And what? In order to sustain public infrastructural assets, such as your water treatment facility, like Lagos State Water Corporation, that is an infrastructural asset management. Nigerian Railway Corporation is an infrastructural asset management because that asset belongs to the public. Your Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, if there is a toll gate there, it belongs to the public. Like Lekki Express toll gate belongs to Lagos State. It is an infrastructure to Lagos State. Then the national grid is an infrastructure to federal government. Then your Onitsha Bridge, Third Mainland Bridge, these are all infrastructure to federal government, and these are public assets. That is, those one fall under infrastructure asset management. Then when you are talking about enterprise asset management, Enterprise asset management are asset information systems that support the management and system of an organization asset. These include your asset registry or your inventory. Then physical assets are more or less like your asset that you can see with your naked eyes. And these are assets you start talking about your operation and maintenance of them throughout their entire life cycle. And these are assets that which include their life cycle include the design period, the construction period, the commissioning period, the operation and maintenance period, the repairing period, modification period, then replacing or decommission and disposal of that asset. These all fall under physical asset. Then you talk about real estate asset, and you start talking about HR asset management, which are all employee to the company. Then what are asset management strategy? When you have an asset, definitely there's going to be a strategy or policy in which you need to keep these assets safe and secure because they are cost to you as a company. And this asset form your liability. It form your book value. It's part of what investors look at during acquisition. It is part of what bank look into when you are seeking for a loan in order to carry out a big project or capital project. So as part of managing your asset, there must be a strategy. The strategy must include how to provide a better understanding of how to align the asset to your portfolio. So as a facility manager or as an asset manager, because there are some certain companies that put asset management under the purview of the facility manager, or it could be under the purview of the finance manager. It's all dependent on company policy. Then part of the strategy you need to put it in place so that it best meets the service delivery needed of the organization, and both in the present and in the future. Your strategy you are putting in place for your asset management must be able to meet the service delivery expected of the company. That is the reason why your strategy must be in tune. It must be in align with your company strategy, your company mission, and your company vision. And also, it must be able to enable the organization asset management policy to be achieved. Every company has what we call asset management. Some use manual, some use digital, and we still going to come into that, how to do your tagging of your assets, how to do your audit, how to do your computerized asset management system. We are still going to come to that in the course of this training. And your asset management strategy also includes what is the first step when you want to develop an asset management strategy. First thing first is for you to get a clear understanding of the current situation of the asset. And what does that mean? What is the condition of the asset as of now? Is the asset in good condition? Does the asset need a renewal? Does the asset need to be removed and replaced with a brand new one? Or you can carry out what we call a revamp on that asset. Then two, does the asset meet the current and the future forecast need of the organization? If the answer is yes, you can keep that asset. If the answer is no, then you need to determine, do you need to do what we call a renewal? Do you need to do what we call a recycle? Or you need to replace, or you need to revamp? Then three, is the funding base for operation, maintenance, and renewal appropriate and affordable? Do you have the capital to expense as at that period in time? Do you have the will without capital to replace that asset? If the answer is no, okay, you can go for an alternative option, which is what? Repair, or you want to renew it, or you want to revamp it, or you want to renovate it. That is all what your asset management strategy should inform you. Then, what is the difference between an asset manager management and facility management? The two of them go line in line. To determine the useful life of an asset, it involves a facility manager, and it also involves the function of an asset manager at the same time. So, find the two of them have a separate role, but there are some certain aspect management that encompasses the two of them. The difference is in the scope of the application. Asset manager is applied to both core and business support processes of an asset, while an FM focuses on the support business of the process, which include operation and maintenance. The asset manager look at the business financial aspect of it, and facility manager look at the support end, because it takes only the facility manager to maintain the asset so that it can support the business goal. And this is the reason why most of the time there is always a rift, let me put it that way, or disagreement between a facility manager and a finance director or a finance manager. Because in the context of maintenance, a facility manager needed to replace an asset. But in the concept of business accounting process in business, the accounting manager is looking at the book value. And he knows that if he's going to replace that asset with a brand new one, he is definitely going to increase the depreciation value of that asset. So an accountant can say no to the request of a facility manager, and a facility manager will look at it in the concept of maintenance and operation, that this is not supporting my operation, is not supporting my portfolio, because I can't serve the end user, the customer, the tenant, who are the end user of that facility, who are the end user of that asset. These are areas where we have one or two differences. On the operational level, facility manager and asset manager manage many services in the area of maintenance, because in the area of maintenance, facility manager maintain the maintenance, as the finance manager provide revenue. He provided money for facility manager to carry out the maintenance activity on that facility. So in terms of operation and maintenance, they work hand in hand. And in terms of safety, logistic, and technical infrastructure. But both asset manager and facility manager also use shared management concept, because facility manager provided information about that facility, about that asset, in terms of the date the asset was commissioned, how much has been expended on that asset, what are the repairs that have been carried out on that asset, can that asset be repaired? And these are all information that the asset manager use in determining the asset utilization rate, the asset register, which is being provided by the facility manager. Asset replacement value is provided by the what? The finance manager, based on the information provided by what? The facility manager. The total cost of ownership is the total cost of planning, design, installation, commissioning, operation and maintenance, disposal of an asset. That is the complete total cost of ownership of an asset. And the critical condition of an asset, they utilize similar analytical technique, method, procedure, and IT solution in order to provide a vital information in keeping the asset vital, and in order to provide the expected designed value. Then, what are the factors that differentiate an asset manager from a facility manager? There are 5 major factors that determine the difference between an asset manager and a facility manager. 1, the type of asset they manage, differentiate them. Then 2, the purpose of the asset to the organization. How critical is the asset to the organization? It also forms what differentiates the two of them. The life cycle of the asset also differentiates an asset manager from what? A facility manager. The organizational goal of the asset owner or the investors also differentiates. Then 5, the assigned scope of operation. What is the scope of operation of that asset? Where area are they being used? These are all 5 factors that differentiate an asset manager from what? A facility manager. What do we mean by asset life cycle? I've just told us that we have what we call total life cycle of an asset, which encompasses the planning period, the design period, the installation period, commissioning, operation and maintenance, repair, remodeling, decommissioning, recycle, disposal, salvage, or outright sale of that asset. That is what an asset life cycle is all about. That is total cost of ownership of an asset. But when you are talking about an asset, I always describe asset life cycle as BAG, which is bird. B means stand for when the asset was given birth to. A means when the asset is alive. And D means when the asset is what? Dead. But there is 1 or 2 activities that precede the birth of an asset, which is planning. But once the asset is being given birth to, which is commissioning, there is need for us to keep the asset hale and healthy in order to perform its design purpose. And in order to achieve that, we need to key into operation and what? Maintenance. And it comes to a point that the asset becomes old. And when the asset is old, we either need to dispose of the asset, resell the asset, or repair, revamp, or remodel the asset and still bring it back to what live again and start using it. That is what we call design and construction, operation, repair, upgrading, and what? Repair. These are all terms as the life cycle of an asset. So that brings us to the end of the first course outline. Now we're moving to what is called asset register. Then I'll call on somebody who has not introduced himself or herself before to just give us a brief introduction of what you understand by asset register. Let me have your hand up, please. If you have not introduced yourself before, let me have your hand up. I need you to give us a brief explanation about what you know on asset register. Okay. Kiki, please go ahead. Mr. Bamidele, I'll come back to you. Kiki, please go ahead. Unmute yourself,
Yes.
Kiki, please.
Good evening.
Yeah, Kiki, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes. Asset register is a record that clearly identifies the asset of a business. We have the name of the asset, probably the brand of the asset, the year the asset was bought, then probably the features, everything that is very important that will give a clear picture, more understanding about that particular asset are the things required to be recorded so that anybody that comes around can easily have better understanding of the asset. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Kiki. You've actually nailed you've hit the nail on the head. But I will still call on Bamidele. Let me hear you out, Bamidele. Bamidele, please go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Asset register. Asset register is a document. Is to keep record of all the company assets viable in the company that so that they could easily trace the record of all the viable items for future purpose and to keep the company running, so that there will be a proper record of all items in the organization for record keeping. And so as when such an item is needed, they could easily trace the date it was bought, the manufacturing date, the usage and every other thing. So asset register is very important in every organization, record purpose. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bamidele. So you and Mr. Kiki, when else we see, I'm giving you a round of applause. So just remind me when we see physically. So remind me that I said I'm going to clap for you.
You're most welcome, sir.
You both hit the nail on the head. So asset register is a record that clearly identifies all the assets of the business. It allows the business owner to quickly retrieve information about the asset, because like Kiki Radley said earlier on, it's going to contain the name of the asset, the make of the asset, when the asset was, the amount the asset was bought, when the asset was commissioned, and all like that. So those are what you're going to retrieve from the asset register. Then it shows the value of the asset, the date of the acquisition of the other detail to compute for depreciation and tax purposes. These are all what you need your asset register for, because once in a while, the asset manager or the finance manager can call you and request for your asset register because he needed one or two information to make some vital company decision. It also allows keeping track of assets and provide a fair estimate of their worth. So I need somebody who has not introduced himself again to bring up another advantage of assets register. Just only one advantage. Is anybody raising a hand? Please let me check. Yes. Please go ahead.
The asset register helps you to know the history of the asset. It helps you to know what to do and how to go about it at that particular time. It helps you to know the condition of that particular asset.
Okay. So, very good, Abdul. Thank you very much. So, what is the purpose of asset register? One, the purpose of asset register is to keep record of the company asset, the recessive value of the attributes, to simplify your record keeping. Then, the register become a reference for business purposes. It can also be used for depreciation purposes. You can use it to calculate your depreciation or amount of money that goes into your depreciation pool on a monthly basis to verify the existence of all assets, if the asset is still available or is no longer available, so that at least you don't have a ghost asset within your organization. It also helps you to keep a master list of what is held, what you have as an asset, and where those assets are being located. You could have assets being located pan Nigeria, but your asset register will help you to keep a track record, and you have a close monitoring of all your assets, because your assets could be running into millions of naira or billions of naira, and losing them could cost you a huge amount of loss. And when you want to create an asset register, what are those things that are required of you? You decide and confirm the purpose of the asset register. Why do you need the asset register? The purpose of the asset register should be your number one priority. Then, two, decide which method are you going to use to organize your asset register. Then, three, you need to perform what you call a physical audit on the asset. You need to see the asset one by one. Don't just assume. Asset audit is not something that you can perform online. You must do what we call a physical visit. It could be a walkthrough, it could be a crawl through. You need to do a physical audit. Create an account record for each of the assets and conduct periodic audits to verify the accuracy of the asset register, so that whichever asset that has been replaced with a new one, you can make sure you do what we call asset register updates. And asset register is not what every Dick and Harry should be having access to. It should be something that is being restricted to some certain level. You should have people who are having access to that, who can update it and who can remove out of the asset register. And what are those things that should be included in your asset register? Just like what Mr. Kiki has said and Mr. Korede and Abdullah said. You have the name of the asset, you have the capacity of the asset, the model number, the serial number, the location, the current location of the asset, the what current should be there, not just location per se. Then the condition of the asset, is it in good condition? Does it need revamp? Does it need repair? Does it need repainting? Does it need an actual renewal or an actual replacement? What is the price of that asset? How much did you buy that asset when we bought it? What is the date of purchase? Who is the manufacturer of that asset? Then, what is the brief description of that asset? In terms of technical detail, you can include your dimensions and every other thing. Do we have an insurance coverage on that asset? Do we have warranty? Please, can you please mute your speaker? Do we have a warranty on that asset? Date when the asset was placed in service, that is the commissioning date. What is the expected estimated lifespan of that asset? Then what is the service value? If you want to resell the asset, how much are we going to recoup back to the company? Then you can as well assign identification number to your asset, which is going to be the number you're going to tag your asset with. So why does an organization need assets register? An organization needs assets register, one, to process and purchase an asset in accordance with the organization authorization and record keeping procedure. Every company has their policies, their approval procedures. With your asset register, you can determine when the asset has been bought, just as the asset reached the estimated lifespan for the asset. If the answer is yes, then you can use that as what? To take an approval in buying another asset for replacement. Then you can use your asset register to maintain an adequate accounting record of your asset cost, the description of your asset, the location of your asset, the current location of your asset in that organization. Then also you can use your asset register to maintain accurate record for depreciation value. It can also help the management to get information on how to plan for the future asset investment. Maybe in the next 4 years, we need to start planning on how to do entire complete overhauling of all our estate. We need to repaint, we need to re-equip all our estates. These are all features because they come with a task, which is huge capital. Then record the retirement and disposal of the assets. You can use your register to determine when the asset is due for what? Retirement, and or when the asset is due for what? Disposal. If the asset has served its entire estimated life expectancy, you can dispose of the asset. Then what are the type of physical assets that are needed to be recorded in your asset register? One, your office equipment. Two, your motor vehicle, your furniture fitting, your computer, which are more or less like your fixed assets, your computer, your communication equipment, and your equipment. These are all your physical assets that you need to keep record of. So now, what is the difference between asset and inventory? Can I have somebody who has not introduced himself again to just give us a brief explanation of what he or she knows about assets and inventory? I want to believe somebody is raising hand. Okay, in the absence of that, assets are items of value that you want to track closely. You know, remember when we were discussing current assets and fixed assets, I told us that assets are anything that can retain value beyond a span of 1 year. It becomes an asset, such as your computer, your printer, your phone, your vehicles, your office furniture. They are all classified as what? Assets, and it's different from what? Inventory. Inventory includes items which has a short-term lifespan, which is less than 1 year. These are more or less like your consumable. Inventory includes items that are used once or last only a short time, and are also referred to as what? Consumable. Stores do not need to be tracked closely. You don't need to waste energy or resources on tracking them. But the only reason why you need to keep an eye on them is that so that for what? For you, for reordering purpose. Your printing paper in the office is an inventory. Why do you keep an eye on it? Because you don't want to run out of printing paper in the office. So you need to know when you are running lower, when you are running out of printing paper, so that you can make what we call reordering. Then example include your office supplies, such as your staples, your notebooks, your markers. These are all inventory. Like I mentioned earlier, I said your asset register could be costing you if they are not, if you don't maintain, if they are not, the record is not up to date and you are not keeping a close eyes on them. According to asset management resources, nearly every company has a problem with lost assets, estimating that on an average 10 to 30% of assets are in fact lost assets. It's very, very true. 10 to 30% are lost assets because you either have, it's either you have a ghost asset, and ghost asset, what are ghost assets? Assets that you still have in your record, but they are no longer physically available. If you don't keep a proper record of your asset, somebody can take your asset, sell it off, and you still believing that that asset is still within your organization. Then, at the same time, you'll be planning, you'll be budgeting for that asset that is not available in your organization. That means that is excess budgeting. Or you are not even budgeting for it at all because you believe the asset is no longer in the organization. So you should have a proper documentation of your assets. So your asset register is something you should guide with jealously because it determines your accounting processes and it have an impact on your budgeting. It have an impact on your P&L. It have an impact on your liability accounting. So an asset that has been lost assets are assets that have been lost. They are assets that have been stolen or is no longer usable, but they are still appear on the company asset register, also refers to as ghost assets, which I've already mentioned. And what are ghost assets? And what are the dangers when you have ghost assets in your organization? You start talking about inaccurate balance sheet, low productivity because you believe that asset is still operational while they are no longer available. Then you are doing what you call other expenses because the asset is not available, but you are still budgeting for that asset in terms of what? Budgeting. Then at the end, you'll be having inaccurate carpet budgeting because you are budgeting for capital expenditure for that asset, which is not longer available. Then definitely there will be what we call asset appropriation of what? Fund. That brings us to the end of the second module of the training. So welcome back everybody from the short break. So we have 3 more modules to go. So please, you guys can hear me very well.
Yes, I can.
Let me know if you can hear me clearly, please.
I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. So let's continue. So now we're going. Thank you very much. Mute yourself and let's continue so that we can quickly round up. Let's mute our speakers, please. Let's mute our speakers, please. So we're doing asset storage and retrieval method. So organization can face which risk when assets are operated without asset information. In many organizations, keeping accurate detail of assets in an organization is a challenge. And why? Assets are often being situated at different geographical locations. And when you have your assets scattered everywhere and you don't maintain a very good data on how to monitor the assets, this can lead to what we call asset loss. Then, if you are not maintaining a very good recording, when you make a deployment and redeployment of your assets, you need to make sure you update your record immediately. If this is not done, there's tendency of you losing your assets. If your asset register is out of date, these are all the challenges you could be facing. And when you give a poor definition to what constitutes a physical asset, if you are taking a physical asset as an inventory, you could be facing a huge lot of our challenge in terms of this. And what are those documentation that you need that will help you in forming your asset register? One, you need your EOM manual, operational manual. That is original equipment manufacturer operation and manual. At times we call it operator's manual. That is very, very key. These are what will inform your asset register. Then 2, you need to have all your warranty terms, which are all enclosed or already inside your maintenance manual, operator's maintenance manual, that always come alongside with the equipment. Then your as-built drawing. And I always tell people who are in construction industry that there is a difference between as-built drawing and engineering drawing, because your as-built drawing precedes your engineering drawing. You have the as-built drawing, you have the engineering drawing before the commencement of the project. But your as-built drawing is being provided after the expiration of the project, after the project has already been completed and commissioned. That's when an as-built drawing is being provided and given to the client. Then you have asset master list, asset tagging, repair history. These are all documentation that you need to form your asset register. So asset tagging. What do you mean by asset tagging? Asset tagging is assigning a unique name to your asset. This can be done by yourself. You can put all your assets in Lagos as LA, Lagos Ikoyi, that will be LA/IK, which is Ikoyi. Maybe it is generator. You can put JEN, which is generator, LA/IK/JEN, which is generator. Is it generator number 1, number 2, number 3? Okay. 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 So you can use your own personal unique name for your asset. So you identify the business protocol, select tagging system, QR labeling. You can use normal QR labeling. Then carry out an inventory of the assets, select the asset name, assign each asset with a unique string of what? Tagging. You can use business unit, the country at which the asset is located, the city, the building number, the floor, the room, or every asset, every equipment come with what we call ASTM code. You can also use the ASTM code to tag your what? Asset. These are all more or less like physical asset tagging. Confirm, Barakat, you can see this slide. Okay. So you can use big data machine, you can use cost performance association, you can use labor improvement and supply allocation, other tagging system static data. These are all classified under physical asset tagging, which is different from the computerized asset tagging. We still come to that computerized asset tagging as we move on. Then you have newer system or more dynamic system. These are all new type of asset tagging that you can use. You can use big data machine, you can use cost performance association, you can use supplier allocation, you can use other tagging system or static system. You can use more dynamic system, which are more or less like computerized based. So why do you standardize your asset tagging? Why is standard important? Example, every equipment that comes with a unique ASTM uniform code. You see them at the back of your asset. At the back of any equipment where you have the equipment nameplate, there is always the ASTM uniform code that always come alongside with it. Then you need standardization because of your data integration. If you want to integrate from your normal physical asset to computerized asset tagging, you need data integration. Then skill portability is required. Why? Because if you don't have the skill of integrating that, that may require you to take the support of a third party in carrying out that activity for you. These are all areas. Then efficient benchmarking. Efficient benchmarking is that when you compare your performance in terms of standardization to what the performance of another company, that is called benchmarking. So if you have an efficient benchmarking in terms of your asset standardization, you can compare it with what other companies are doing. Then when you're talking about computer-based asset monitoring, assets are critical components of any business or organization, but tracking those assets can be one of the most time-consuming tasks of the entire workday. What are those examples of computerized-based asset monitoring you can use? You can use barcode, you can use RFID, you can use QR scan, you can use alphanumeric. These are all asset tagging computerized based you can use in tracking your asset. Then what are the advantages of all this computerized? It helps you to streamline your work, makes your work in terms of monitoring your assets easier. Then two, it also helps make employee work more efficiently and productive. Instead of you dealing with Excel, writing Excel, updating Excel up and down, you can use your computerized monitoring system to upgrade your asset. Despite the fact that you still have to do what we call physical assessment. Then, what are those asset tracking tools that you need? Your asset tracking tool enable your organization to track asset maintenance and their location. It saves valuable time and it eliminates the need for spreadsheet. So you no longer need to use your Excel spreadsheet. Then it also ensures proper inventory of your asset management. So you have a proper inventory because you are using machine. When you do a physical inspection, you are using this machine to what? To pick up the barcode or whatever on that asset and send it to centralized server system. These are all asset tagging that you can use. You can use alphanumeric, you can use barcode, you can use RFID, and you can use QR scan code. And these are all examples of all of them. This is scan code, this QR scan code, this is your barcode, this is your RFID. These are all asset tagging that you can use and more or less like computerized based. And part of it is your computer-aided facility management softwares. There are several numbers of them that you can use that are currently available in the market now that can support your facility management. Then there are several numbers of them that you can use in terms of facility assessment. You can use them for your real estate property management. You can use them for your space management, your building and automation management, your computer-aided design, your operation and maintenance. We have a lot of software that can assist you in carrying out your asset management as far as whatever is your asset management is concerned. And what are these software? You can see in terms of space and asset management, you have draw-based, you have software, you have accept and work, you have Omnic. These are all software that you can use. But I always advise facility manager when you are making choice of your asset software, you should choose the information you are trying to retrieve from that software will determine the kind of software you are going to use for your asset monitoring. Or if you're into real estate, the actual information you want to gather from that software will inform the type of asset you are going to use. Then the other factor you have to look at is what is the cost of that asset in terms of post-maintenance activity, because there are some of this software that you have to get a yearly license, which come at a cost. Then there are some of these assets that at the end of the day, by the time you buy them, you might not be having what we call after-sales service from the supplier of that asset. So what you needed to do is at that period in time, before you switch or before you make a decision of buying that software, you need to do what we call networking. Ask other facility managers who are using that asset if that asset is actually functioning, if they are getting what we call after-sales service from this supplier, or the supplier is actually providing what we call training to start. And is that software going to be user-friendly if you eventually employ them in your asset monitoring? These are all what you need to look into. And there are several numbers of computer-aided facility management system software that you can use currently in the market. If you want to do facility assessment, you have a lot of software that can do that for you. Property management, you have software. Workflow, you have software. Maintenance and operation, you have software that can do that. The information, as I earlier mentioned, that you want to retrieve from those software will determine your choice of software you are going to use. When you are implementing, after you have chosen your software and you want to implement it, what are the processes you need to take? How do you go by it? So an organization should assess their business need before you make choice of any software that you're going to use. That is before implementation. Decide on system implementation objective. Identify system requirement. What are the requirements of the system, which I've already earlier mentioned? What will be done with the information from the system? What are you going to, the information generated from the system, what are you going to do with it? What is the advantage of that information to your business? Then, if you have answer to all these questions, then you can go ahead, proceed, purchase that system, and finally, you start implementing it. The implementation still basically involve assessing the business needs of the organization, not just the system need. An organization should not rely on their system vendor or software consultant for successful system implementation. You don't actually need to rely on them because they might not be providing you the necessary support that you need during implementation period. And during implementation period, what do you actually need to do? You need to implement the execution plan. During the execution plan, does it need you to move all staff in the office out of the office? If the answer is yes, where would they be operating from? How can they perform without affecting your implementation? Then issue identification, risk management, change management, transition period, implementation review. These are what you need to consider when you are doing your implementation. Risk management means during the implementation period, what are the risks? You could be using a software before. When you are migrating from the old software and to the new software, what are the risks you are going to face? Are you facing the risk of losing data? Are you facing the risk of people not being able to work in the office for a certain period of months? These are all the risks you need to put in place, and you need to know how to mitigate against those risks during the implementation period. Then change management. You know, when you're bringing in a new software like that, a lot of people will not want to accept it. You are going to face a lot of challenges during change management, because people will tell you that this thing will not work. Why do we need this software? The software we're using before is okay. These are all the challenges you are going to face during the implementation period of that software. Then after you have implemented it, what are your challenges? Post-implementation involves continuous process monitoring and tracking. You need to keep monitoring it and make sure people are performing what they needed to perform without even getting a kickback for doing that. It also involves continual monitoring and tracking the process based on feedback from what? From the system end user. You need to continue train staff and continue to train, and you continue to train until when everybody has get used to the new system and they can operate without any support anywhere. Then you need to ensure that you have quality assurance conduct on the input. Whether, because you know whatever you input into the system is what the system is going to generate for you. So during the input period, you need to ensure that you are inputting a quality input. Then you need to continuously promote the system value to staff. You need to tell the staff, continuously tell the staff what are the advantages of the new set you bring in over the existing system that the company is using before. So the bottom line here is that the facility management system aren't just about the software. Every staff should be made to see the value of the software system, and hence an organization should put everything in place to ensure the system is used effectively, and not effectively, efficiently. And that brings us to what we call CMMS, which is computerized maintenance management system. It is software. It automates scheduling of inspection and maintenance, preventing the occurrence of maintenance problem and expensive repair. Switching from reactive to proactive maintenance also extend the life of the equipment while reducing the overall operating cost of the maintenance. And it also helps you to manage your work order effectively. These are all what you start to gain when you are using your CMMS. It helps you to effectively plan and schedule your preventive maintenance. One, it helps you to manage your work order effectively, because the issue of going through paperwork, somebody bring paperwork to do, which is a work order, you sign, it goes to another place. These are all what you can carry out on your computer within a span of 10-20 minutes. It also helps you to manage inventory, because you have your inventory input into the CMMS. So once you are taking an inventory out, the CMMS automatically remove the part you have taken out and upgrade and tell you what is your stock balance as at that period in time. So you can use that as a benchmarking for you to do what we call reordering. It also eliminates a lot of paperwork that you have to go through if you are using the analog type. It's enhanced productivity because you save a lot of time using CMMS. Then it reduces your time because your repair costs also get reduced. Keep a finger on the pulse of your organization, ensure compliance with regulatory standards. It increases productivity and ensure that you have your equipment lifetime increase. Then you have a larger uptime and a lesser downtime as far as breakdown is concerned. Then during the implementation of CMMS, what you need to do, you must get the buy-in of the management, because if the manager doesn't support it, they won't give you approval to buy it. And that's the reason why I always advise facility manager that even the current analog one you have, make sure you take an effective use of them so that when you are making a request for digital one, company will have a reason to ask you to go ahead and get it procured. Then define the requirement. Why do you need it? What is the goal? What is the expectation of the software? What is the timeline to take you to implement, to integrate into the new software? Gather a list of all assets to be entered into the CMMS. It's not that you have to put every dig and every asset. There are some assets that are not critical. By the time you do the criticality, or if you group your assets in terms of criticality, you know the assets that are supposed to go into your CMMS so that you can monitor their predictive maintenance and make a proactive measure when you get an alert. Then you can document all your planned preventive maintenance procedure. You can select a CMMS software that suits your need, that will give you the required information that you want from that software. Then also import data. You can import any data you have from the existing system using the spreadsheet. Then you can ask the user and add the user to be grouped to the CMMS. You can have people who will be having access to the CMMS. You can keep adding people to it. Then you can add your asset to the CMMS. Once you have done all this, you can go live. Then you keep continuing improving, review, renew, refine, and customize the software on consistency basis. Please, somebody's speaker is on. Okay. So when you are implementing your CMMS, you do what you call project planning. You do migration period when you are migrating from the old to the new one. The core configuration. What is the core configuration? How do you match the old system with the new one? The process of the design, the practical testing, then you manage results. When you have implemented, you practicalize what you have implemented. Does it suit what you want? Then after that, you start managing the results you are getting from there. So what are the challenges of CMMS? Features and functions. People need to get used to those features that are being used, because in those CMMS, a pumping machine might not appear as a pumping machine, might appear as a symbol. So everybody needs to get used to those symbols. So when you see a symbol of a building, you know this is a building. When you see the building symbol of an extractor, you know this is an extractor. So everybody needs to get used to those features and functions. Then how flexible is that system? Is it user-friendly or not? These are all the challenges that you might come across when you are using your CMMS. Then interface compatibility. The old one and the new one. Can the old one accommodate the job done by the old one and still have enough space to accommodate more? If the answer is yes, that is where interface capability comes in. Then system security. How secure is the new system you have put in place in terms of your data, in terms of your information management? Does you stand the chance of risking your information to threat or to hackers or to whatever? These are all what you need to consider. Then in terms of data security, because you need your system to be, data to be up and running, you need your internet to be up and running. How secure is your data when you have your internet running 24 hours in order for you to maintain availability of accessibility of your CMMS to all the end users? Then this brings us to the difference between your computer-aided facility management software and other facility management system. Not to confuse a computerized maintenance management system with computer-aided facility management system. They are two different things. The CAFM is like the mother, while CMMS is like a son or daughter under it. So CMMS operates as a subset of CAFM. CAFM is main set, while CMMS is the subset. For instance, let's take a real life example. An office, consider an office in the workplace. Ensuring that the office is properly inspected, maintained, and repaired is a complete CMMS, complete maintenance activity. But the knowledge about the staff, the office content in terms of chair, table, lockers, phone, including their movement from one office to the other, and the equipment connection, electrical system, mechanical system, communication system, are all related to what we call computer-aided facility management system. So that is the difference between the two of them. And we shall be going to what I'll call the last module of asset management, which is life cycle cost and procedure. I have explained to you what a life cycle is of an asset when at the onset of this class. Life cycle costing and procedure. Developing an asset management policy. Life cycle involves asset planning and decision. And when you are doing your asset planning, what are the first thing you do? You develop an asset management policy. And what will that policy help you to do? What is that policy all about? It is an integrated and multidisciplinary approach. Approach is recommended while developing this policy. Why is it multidisciplinary? It is not a unilateral decision. You can, as a facility manager, take that decision alone. You need to take the support of an asset manager and possibly a finance manager or the overall managing director of the company. So you use that one. That is when you determine what will be the depreciation value of the asset, what will be the expected lifespan of that asset. These are all the policies that you can develop when you are doing your asset planning decision. Then it helps you to have a clear direction of your asset management. It also ensures service delivery need form the basis of your asset management. Then two, it is a life cycle approach incorporates to asset. It helps you to incorporate a life cycle approach into your asset management system. Then it also helps you in the area of asset sustainability. So what is the benefit of a strategic approach to asset management? Better allocation of resources, because you know which of your assets is very, very critical, that you need to deploy huge resources to. Then it helps you to improve alignment of your asset with the services and organizational expectation. It also helps you to better integration of services planning and asset planning. It also helps you to improve process and accountability for capital and recurrent work. You'll be able to account for all your capital expenditure, and if there is any recurrent work that you need to carry out, then you have the chance of having more effective use and maintenance of your assets. You use your asset effectively and you also maintain your asset effectively. Then what is asset disposal? If there is, let me see if there is somebody who has not introduced himself. Let me use the opportunity to call that person, him or her, and tell us, let me hear you out. Just give us a brief description of what you understand about disposal of an asset. Can we quickly have somebody to do that for us? What do you understand by disposal of an asset? Okay. Yeah, Ridwan, go ahead. You also move to your speaker. We can barely hear you. Okay. Okay, I think somebody else is raising hand. Mr. Ariwan, we can barely hear you. Okay, let's proceed. Let's proceed. Then what is asset disposal? Asset disposal plan is a plan that documents the activity and costs associated with the disposal of an asset. For instance, you have a 10-story building facility to be demolished. You are bringing out the entire facility down and you want to start reconstruction. You know that part of your disposal plan will include you getting safety commission approval. You're going to get legal approval. You're going to get legal state approval. You're going to get building commissioning approval. You're going to get several numbers of approval. And all this comes at a cost. Then it might require you getting a crane to bring that building down. It requires you to get some manual labors. These are all costs what you need to put in place that is going to form that asset disposal plan. Generally part of a comprehensive asset management plan. Any activity associated with the disposal of a decommissioned asset, such as the selling of the asset, the demolition of the asset, and possibly the relocation of that asset. That is where asset disposal plan comes into play. And your asset disposal plan should include forecast of the timing for the asset disposal. What is the time frame you're going to dispose of that asset? Cash flow forecast identify income and expenditure associated with what? Asset disposal. At times when you are selling a car, a company car, it's an asset. With that, you are equipping money back into the company. You are gaining money. But when you are bringing down a building, you are spending money out. That's where income and expenditure comes in when you are disposing of an asset. Time asset disposal to ensure that the replacement assets are operational. That is the one you use to replace the old one, ready to absorb the workload of the decommissioned asset. So when you decommission an asset, the work being performed, the task being performed that asset, you must be willing and be ready to accept that workload. Then so that users are not inconvenienced and inconvenienced needlessly. Asset disposal plan is an important component of a sound asset management plan. Saying disposal cost can be as much as 5% of the full life cycle cost of an asset. So your disposal plan can cost you almost about 5% of the entire life cycle cost of that asset. So replacing of an asset, what are the processes that you follow when you want to replace an asset? The amount to pay to replace an asset at the present time, according to what? Its current worth. Then, understand asset replacement cost. As certain assets approaches their end, the end of their useful life, expenditure to replace the asset need to be anticipated. The cost of replacing them could be high, and the cost of selling them off could be very low. Then 2, explore insurance coverage for that asset. Maybe you can take an advantage of insurance. And if you have insurance coverage for that asset, possibly maybe insurance can cover the area of replacing that asset for you. Possibly you insured your car and your car is almost becoming obsolete and the car was being stolen. So you can use insurance claim to get another car based on audit, because the insurance team will come and audit the existing car and tell you this is the worth your money, but definitely you are going to get something that is of more value than your current asset. This is where insurance coverage can be of help. Asset tracking and management. Why do you track your assets? That is under asset auditing. Asset tracking systems speed up audit tasks and conduct asset tracking in real time. This will enable more efficiency in planning, enable scheduling of necessary maintenance or service for equipment at appropriate time. When you are setting up an asset tracking system, or you are trying to conduct your asset auditing, what do you need to do? You need to know how many assets you have. What of assets are you trying to audit? Where are the location of those assets? Then, how many of that asset locations do you have? Are these assets already labeled? Will you use barcode or RFID tag? Do you need real-time updates, or can batch collection be used? That means you have to go point by point, equipment by equipment. What type of reporting will you need from the system? These are all information that will form your asset auditing when you want to carry out your asset auditing. And this is very, very key. I'm going to do like a 5-minute recap of what we have discussed so far today. We have discussed what is an asset, how do we manage an asset, what is asset register. Then we move to differentiate, compare and contrast a facility manager to an asset manager. Then we discuss about how do you tag your asset. You can use physical tagging and you can use computerized. Then we discuss about your asset planning, asset disposal. Then we also discuss how your asset could be costing you, the difference between asset and what? Inventory. These are all what we have discussed today. And I'll call on just only 2 people to tell us before I will leave room for questions. Yeah, Mr. Daniel.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Mr.
I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to you because I've actually learned so many things, and the core thing that I actually learned because I've actually read the material today and the PDF today, so to prepare for the class, and there are some things that I actually don't really understand even when reading it, and probably due to my background, I told you earlier, my background was in education, so I actually find this career so awesome. So that's why I actually learned the difference between asset management and facility management. Wow. Before I do think that asset management and facility management are the same. So today you've actually highlighted and expanded asset management and facility management, which I've actually seen some kind of features that asset management has and facility management, and their similarities too. And that was actually awesome. And also the softwares that enable facility manager to actually document, I mean, in terms of record keeping, in terms of tracking and all. So seriously, it's actually doing me as if I should start learning 1 or 2 things about the softwares. So seriously, I'm actually finding myself, okay, like virtually doing 1 or 2 things on that software, but then I know I'm still getting there so soon. So another thing is you actually give an acronyms for determine asset life cycle, which is BAD, the birth, alive, and death. So yeah, I actually jotted that, and that's actually a very good way to have it on my upstairs and for a very long period of time. Yeah, I actually love that. And to me, that's all to me for now. That's all. That's all. I truly appreciate, and this class is actually awesome.
Thank you, Mr. Adiana.
Thank you.
That is what we are here
You're
for in
welcome,
Max-Migold. We always try to make you a better person than the way you came. So in Max-Migold, you won't go back the same way you came. So I can
For
tell
you,
you
100%.
that at the end of this training, there's going to be a difference between you of then and you of now.
100%.
So I think I see how somebody
100%.
raising his hand. You said
Thank
what,
you.
Mr. Diana?
I said 100%, as in not. I actually came like a tabula rasa, like a whiteboard. Now I'm here with a full of chalks on my board or marker on my board. So thanks so much. I appreciate.
You're much welcome, Mr. Diana. Yeah, Mr. Michael, come up, please.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. When I was going through the material, I was laughing, and when you were giving the presentation, I was also laughing at myself, because what happened was that sometimes ago in our office, we saw a set of people who came tagging, including a keyboard, computer monitor, the computer itself, even fan. So when I was going through, when you were giving us the types of tagging, the barcode, the NF, and so on and so forth. I see them using those machines that was displayed. So I was looking at this at low. So this is what they were doing then that I don't even know. All of us were there laughing at them, and we don't know what they are doing. But now, as I've learned now, that I also learned that facility management cannot stay on their own. They cannot do anything on their own when it comes to asset management. They have to carry a lot of people along, which include those who are going to finance, those who are going to give the money, including the MD of the company. So these are the two things I've learned so far today that change what I've used to know before. Because, you know, when I said I was laughing at them. Now I know better.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel. I'm very glad you know better. Thank you very much. Mr. Nofchu.
Sorry, I'll just rename myself. I'm very sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation. Today's one has been very packed. A lot to take in. So with time, I will digest and be up to speed with what we have dished out.
Yeah, can you speak up, sir, a bit?
Thank you. So I was just
I can hear you clearly now.
Okay, sir, can you, your acronym for the asset life cycle? I was looking at it, you said BAD, then you...
I call it BAD, BAD.
Then
B stands for birth, giving birth.
Yes.
A stands for alive. YD stands for death.
But
you know, when you are being given birth to, for you to use your expected life cycle as a human being, you need to take care of yourself. That is when you are alive. And when you are alive, how do you take care of yourself? You maintain yourself by brushing your teeth, you take your shower, you go for medical checkups, you do exercise. These are all operation and maintenance activities you carry out on yourself when you are alive. Then there's no how, despite the fact you do this, definitely one day, death will strike, right? So that's why I always use the word bad, so that people can easily understand. B means birth, A means alive, and D means death. Every human being, every equipment, every asset go through this stage. But that's the difference between total cost of ownership.
Sir,
when
are
I'm
you
talking
talking
about, go ahead.
I'm looking at the slide 14 of your presentation. Is also the asset life cycle, but it doesn't seem to match this acronym that you're giving. So I would like you to
the acronym is not there, but so that you can have a better understanding, that's the reason why I use the acronym.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's not that the acronym is in that presentation, so that you can have a clear understanding of what a life cycle of an equipment is. Because if you are talking about total cost of ownership now, that means you have to include the cost of planning, the cost of installation, the cost of commissioning, then the cost of disposing of that asset after the asset is dead.
Okay.
That is total cost of ownership. So I think I have Mr. Kingsley. Mr. Kingsley, go ahead.
Good evening. Thanks for the class. It has been more.
Mr. Kingsley.
Thanks for the class. It has been more of an eye-opener. Initially, when I came in, I was saying asset management is something I'm used to. When the introduction of the class and as we went on, I now saw that where my focus was just on one side. There are a lot to grab from this asset management, which also includes asset management in other sectors. I was only looking at it in the facility sector. I never knew it was also in other sectors. So I have in mind a question I jotted down, which is, in my facility, I have a lot of AC units, outdoor units, more than 100 of them. Most of them are running in groups. These are VRV systems. So I wanted to tag them based on their history of repairs. So I want to know what kind of software would you suggest? Because we saw a lot of software here now. It's just like a film to me. What kind of software will you recommend? For me, I have bulk of ACs like this to track their history, their repair, and their expected lifespan. So each of the units, once I click on it, it should give me the history of that from the day I bought it till the whole jobs that have been carried out on that AC and the expected lifespan. Is there a software that can do that? Because it is a whole lot bulky for it to accommodate my ACs alone that have taken more of it and come to electrical, come to different things. So I want you to help. Is there any software you can recommend? Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kingsley, there are a lot of software in the market that you can pick up and use. But remember that I said the information that you want the software to provide for you will determine the software you're going to use. I am choosing MTN above Glo. Why? Because I know MTN has a wider coverage compared to Glo. Somebody said it's choosing Airtel in lieu of MTN. Why? Because Airtel is having a very good data operation when it's compared to whatever. So everybody has an informed reason why he's making use of a certain whatever. So if I want to use a car, I can choose Mercedes-Benz among every other car. Why? There must be something I want to achieve in choosing Mercedes-Benz. So the information you want to retrieve from that software will determine which of the software you're going to use. And in your facility, try to get it. The software will not resolve the maintenance problem that you have for you. No, they are just to track your record. And also, if you have an asset monitoring software, they are to keep a track record of your assets. That software will not repair or maintain your assets for you. Then,
yeah, I was saying the track history.
I'm coming. I'm just trying to. Then, when you say you want to pick up a software, why do you want to use that software? It's like I have just only one estate that I'm managing. Why do I need a software when I can easily have the detail of all my assets in a very simple Excel format? Why do I have to start spending 5 million naira on a yearly basis on getting license for the software that I'm using in a single one particular estate? But if I happen to be a facility manager in somewhere like First Bank has over 100 branches in the whole of the country, then I can go for a digitalized asset monitoring system because I have my assets located in almost every state, every town in the whole entire country. So the number of location, the number of facility you have will determine the kind of software you have. If you have an estate here in Lagos, like you have 1,004 estate you are maintaining here in Lagos, you have Lekki estate, you have another one like 3 in Abuja, 2 in Port Harcourt. Yes, because you have your assets located in several locations. You could go digitalize to make your asset monitoring easier. But if you are still within a geographical location, to me, it doesn't require you going into that because all this software doesn't come as 30,000 naira or 40,000 naira software. No, they are not something that you can get in Ikeja, Computer Village. No, they always come with experts. You are going to buy from them. They will come around, do the installation for them, do the integration for them, do the demo, train your staff, provide after sales. Some might not even give you after sales service free of charge. It might be at a cost. And for you to do a near yearly renewal of the license before the software can operate, you still have to pay for the service. So what if your company doesn't have the capital to finance that? Because that is not their top priorities at that period in time. So to me, you could use normal history card. Get a history card, open an history card for each of the air conditioning units. The history card will have the model number, the serial number, the maker of that generator and the maker of that equipment, the size of that equipment. Then each time you spend 1 naira on that unit, you record it inside your history card. Any day, anytime you want to calculate how much you have spent on that particular equipment, bring out your history card, do your total lump sum. It will tell you how much you have spent on that particular equipment. For your example, your pumping machine, you can easily walk up to your overall manager and tell that manager that, sorry, we have spent almost about 100,000 naira repairing this electric motor. I think it is high time we buy a new one, because with new one, we are going to gain what we call warranty period and efficiency. These are all what you need to start looking at before you start saying you want to go digitalize. It's not that you can't go digitalize, try to get it. But the volume of assets you have, the quantity of assets you have, then the locations will determine if you can go digitalize or you can still stay what? Manual. So Mr. Kingsley, I hope that answer your question, sir.
Yeah, I get you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. I'm so sure I still have a lot of people. I have Mr. Antonio B. Oh, is it Mrs. Antonio B? Okay, Mr. Faith, please go ahead. Mr. Faith.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I'll join my colleague in thanking you as well for the presentation we got tonight. Thank you very much.
I accept that with all honor.
So two quick ones. The asset register, sir. The asset register, and all that we needed to note. You know, we used to think just the serial number and just the description, but it's much more than that. I lost counting, by the way, all that we needed to note down. But what even struck me more was this one, the what is called asset disposal plan. Asset disposal. Okay. You know, I want to dispose something, so I have to start planning for that. You know, it's just like when you have a car, you know, you're like, oh, so I want to buy another car. You just put for sale on it. You don't calculate all that is involved in selling the car. Where are you going to place the car? And where you are going to place the car to advertise for sale on it? Who pays for that? You know, you have to calculate how much you're going to pay for renting the space, the cost of washing the car, and so. Look, this is an eye-opener for me. In my office some time ago, we had to dispose a generator. And then, you know, we are thinking, do we have to advertise it? And somebody said, why are you going to spend money on advertising the generator? Why don't you just call a few friends and all of that? So now I know that 5%, according to your slide, let me quickly go back. Yep. Sorry for holding others. There it says asset disposal plan is an important component of a sound asset management plan, since disposal cost can be as much as 5% of the full life cycle.
Sure.
Sorry. Sorry about that. So I will tell my management that it costs to dispose an item. Of course, they knew, but I have a business case now.
So you are more or less of a businessman now, Mr. Faith.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I love that.
Okay. Can I speak?
Okay. Mrs. Mobi. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good evening. Thank you so much again for the class. It was really insightful. So I have a question. You spoke about assessing your assets before we, to ascertain the condition of the assets. So I want to find out, is there like a benchmark to determine the condition of an asset? Because let's assume you have a building. To someone, it's not so bad. To another person, it's manageable. Somebody, it's utterly off the mark. So how do you actually assess a building to determine its condition? Yeah, so that's my question.
Actually, we're coming, I think, on Friday, right? On Friday, we'll be having fertility condition assessment. We're going to dwell into detail. How do you carry out your, but I will give you an example. You know, Mr. Faye said something about selling a car the other time. You know, if you are driving between, let me say you are driving between Bonicamp down to Ojuelegba, by the road, you saw car that they want to sell. You just driving past. You ask somebody, how much is that car? You pick the phone number on it and you call, how much is that car? You understand? And you bought that car. If that car couldn't perform what you expected, who will you blame? You said you are the one that doesn't do the needful. That is what we call a walkthrough in assets facility condition assessment. Then, if peradventure as you are driving down, you saw this car, you parked. After parking, you walk around that car to see the condition, but you didn't open the door. Try to get me right. You only walk around the car. That is what they call walkthrough. You can't determine the condition of the car. But now you parked, you came down, you collected the key, you open the door, you open the bonnet to assess the engine, you assess the seats, and you start the car. You drove like a kilometer, you match your brake, you come back, you check the wheel. That is what we call crawl through under asset management. Out of that three, which one is the best option you are going to use?
The crawl through.
Crawl through, because crawl through will give you a detailed information about that asset. And the reason why you need to do that as a facility manager is that so that you will not inherit what we call liability.
Yeah.
You understand now? So that's the reason why somebody can just pass by building a building and say that building is, it's good. But when you go inside, is that building actually good? Because you assess that building in terms of building system, the roofing system. The building could look very beautiful, but when it is raining, how does the building look inside? That could be a pool of water inside, which you won't see from outside. Then what happened to the transportation system within the building? Your transportation system, including your walkway, your staircase, your conveyors, your lift, these are your transportation system. Then your electrical system. These are all what you need to consider when you do. When we get to facility condition assessment, you're going to understand better. But at least, I think that answers your question a bit.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Yeah, Mr. Abdul.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Samuel.
Good evening. Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It was quite
Thank
exciting.
you very much, Mr. Samuel.
Quick one. I would like, everybody have asked so many questions that actually open up the topic. And mine is just for us to say a little bit of practical. Maybe if you can share some Excel sheet of what you've done somewhere else, like the registration, like the registration of assets, also maybe other something that you've already just have a look of what you've done before. It can actually help us to actually build more understanding in the course. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Let me tell you, Barakat is still going to share that with us on asset register. There is a design template, right? Yes. There is a design template. So it's going to be like a project at the end of the training. You're going to have it, don't worry. Mr. Abdul. Hello. Oh, I guess it's network.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, you are going to have that at the end of the training. There is. Okay. There is a designed one. Everybody's going to have it.
Thank you.
You're much welcome. So I appreciate everybody today for listening. And see you guys on Friday when we're going to do facility condition assessment. So till Friday, let me say good night to everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
You very much. Good night.
Sir.
Good night.
Good night, sir. Thank you, sir. Good night. Thank you.
Stop sharing, right?
Good night. Thank you very much.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you very much. Good night.
night. Thank you.
Oh man, join me, sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Jehovah Jireh has done me well. Has done me